Welcome to today's South-South News program. I'm Bill Miller. One of the main goals of South-South News is to focus attention on unique and innovative economic, social, and developmental activities that are taking place, especially in developing countries. Today we're going to shift a little bit and we're going to focus on the Middle East. And my guest is someone who's very knowledgeable about the Middle East Children's Institute. She is the president of the institute called MECI. And my guest is Linehan Mroz. And she is going to bring us up to date on what is going on with MECI, the Middle East Children's Institute. Karen, welcome to today's South-South News.
Thank you, Bill. It's an honor to be here, and we're delighted to have the opportunity to speak about the Middle East Children's Institute, or as we shorten it, to MECI.
Right. That's very good. Well, I appreciate you being with me. Let's start off. What is the Middle East Children's Institute? When was it formed? Why was it formed? What does it do?
Sure. It was formed in really 2005 by a wonderful woman named Lola Nashashibi Grace, who is partners with me in this endeavor. And she felt that after 9/11 and with her heritage in the region, that it was important not just to speak about the issue, but to do something actively engage in it. And she commissioned a study to find out what were the needs within the region and wanted to focus on children and women. Those are the two most important factors. How could we help? We address the education, psychosocial health issues for women and children in the region who suffered from both impoverished conditions and areas, war-torn areas or areas of conflict. The program actually opened in 2007, and we opened in two areas. One was in the West Bank, which is where we're operating today, and one was in Jordan in Salt, which is north of Amman, and we're north of Ramallah. And we focus on elementary education. We started as an after-school, comprehensive, holistic after-school program for elementary children, and worked with local women's associations and sought to empower the community or have economic development within the community. And today it's turned into a major community development program.
Now you have in this MECI, the Middle East Children's Institute, you have three pillars.
Correct.
You've sort of alluded to one or two, and what are the three pillars?
Education for children, women's empowerment, and economic stimulation or economic development in the village within which we operate.
Mm-hmm. Now when you say those three, I'm reminded of the United Nations Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs that were launched really in 2000, and about 189 countries of the UN came together in New York, focused on these 8 quantifiable, logical goals to be achieved hopefully by 2015. And the first one is to reduce abject poverty by 50%. The second, promote universal primary school education. Other goals deal with sustainable development, combating climate change, reversing the AIDS epidemic. It sounds to me like on those three pillars you've encompassed a large number of the Millennium Development Goals. Were you thinking about these when you were putting this together, or were these sort of an add-on later? But how do they tie into yours?
I think anyone would like to say, of course. But we're very fortunate because we do tie into the 8, and not all 8, but I would say the majority of them in many ways. And you touch upon children's education because we're working at the elementary education level. It's so important. We forget that in this region, about 55% of the population is under the age of 15. That's a very important factor as we look to our future. So we're very much in support of the Millennium Goals with respect to education, but it's the psychosocial aspect too. If you've been encompassed in a conflict situation for as many years as the region has, particularly in the West Bank, the psychosocial element, feeling good about being a child, improving your self-confidence, will gain you the ability to focus on education and your positive goals for the future. Empowering women, obviously, is one of our own pillars, as we stated. In our science program, in the after-school component, where we focus on tutoring, science, use the fine arts and sports to bring out the whole child and help them feel better about themselves. Our focus is environmental science, not only in the awareness of the environment and the importance of preservation, but we have the children utilize things from home to bring in for art so they see the full cycle. And in our community service, we also encompass environmental science. I think the other area that we focus on is partnership. It's extremely important from the beginning, when Lola began the program, to focus on not reinventing the wheel, but engaging with others in a partnership that enhances what we do. So, for example, we're working with a local group that's well known for their music and music with children. They're going to come in and enhance our musical curriculum for us. And that's very important, to build the best in partnership with others. So I think we touch upon a few of them.
You certainly do, yes. Well, let's go back to the education component for just a moment. How many schools do you have? Now, do you operate your own schools? Is that the way you set up schools? You hire your teachers, you have principals or someone who's in charge. Roughly how many schools are we talking about? How many students? And how do you get your students? Where do you go? Do they come to you, or do you recruit them?
It's a little bit different in the two areas that we've operated in. And again, we only began in 2007, so we're in our 4th year and we're still learning and evolving. In Jordan, we had many schools feeding into an after-school program held at a family center. And that gave us the broadest exposure within a larger community, which is more of a town than a village. In the West Bank, we are operating in one village, and I think that we've found the comprehensive, holistic approach to this one village is teaching us how to take the model and perfect it in a better way. So we're working in 2 schools there now, with the hopes of going to a 3rd school for our graduates. So we began with elementary education, girls grades 1 through 4. It begins when the day school ends. The day school principal, because we have an excellent partnership with the Ministry of Education, the day school principal becomes our school coordinator. And then we've hired now over 30 individuals, both men and women, but predominantly women, from the village who are qualified to teach the subjects that MECI has. So the children come from the village. We've had now over 1,500 children in 4 years, and their families impacted by the program. And they're all qualified in the areas, again, of fine arts, English, math, science, and drama and art.
Sounds like a very comprehensive curriculum that you're developing.
Thank you. It is. It's very important. What happens, and I should also say, part of this is a healthy food program, because it's so important to teach the children good nutrition. We have a lot of issues with malnutrition, anemia, and stunted growth in the region. So just a simple component, which I learned through MECI, that if you don't take tea with iron-rich foods, you enhance the ability for the body to absorb the iron. If it's an anemia-ridden society, then that's a very important thing. And we saw big results change in that. But when the children come, they have a hot meal or a nutritious snack. They learn about what the components are. They go into the tutorial component, English, math, science, Arabic. Then we let them have fun and relax through the fine arts and sports.
Have you been able to track some of the accomplishments of the program? You talked about improving the nutritional value of their food and that type of thing, their lunches, but have you been able to see that there have been some various gains in certain areas?
We have. Some of them briefly are, we've had a 36% drop in absenteeism. So now we have just your regular absenteeism. We've taken English based on the scores of the students from the year before MECI and their academic performance, up 26% in math and 19% in English. We have some 70% of the students are now performing at grades 90 or above, which is considered academic excellence anywhere, but particularly here, which is great. We've seen a 50% increase in the number of students that are able to articulate verbally and otherwise in self-confidence, which is extremely important. And we've taken anemia from 40 cases in 2007 to 1 case recorded this year. And we do that by pre-testing and post-testing medically and refer children who have anemia, vision or hearing issues for additional assistance and help them get glasses, hearing aids, that sort of thing. So those are briefly some of them, and we've also seen a reduction, particularly in the new program for boys, in violence and aggressive peer-to-peer behavior, which is very important.
Very important, yes. Well, now, every study that's been done, that I've seen anyway, focuses on women's empowerment. And everyone that's focused on women's empowerment says it is critical for any society. It doesn't matter where it is, the Middle East, it could be South America, North America, wherever. It is important to empower women so they can be actively involved in a wide range of activities in the society, because they're already contributing so much, no matter where they live, no matter what they're doing, no matter what their status is. And of course, one of the main Millennium Development Goals is to focus on empowering women. What are you doing to help empower women in that area where you're operating?